Joe and I have returned to share January bullet journal spreads. If you haven't already, I encourage you to watch my 2022 plan with me that was posted recently. It will be linked in the description box below. January always just feels like a nice fresh change of pace, so I am really looking forward to it. And if you want to follow along with some of the things I'm doing throughout the month, then be sure to go follow me on Instagram at Caitlin Marie De Silva. I share stories and reels and just, what people usually do on Instagram, to be honest. But it's fun. It's me. Yay. I think after 10 years of being on the internet, I'd figure out how to promote myself a little bit better, but alas. Fun fact, it was in January 2012 that I started my book blog that began my internet journey. So I've now been, as of the end of January, on the internet creating content for 10 years. Isn't that just wild? I'm gonna have to find a way to celebrate that because it feels like a pretty momentous occasion. And for however long you've been here, I just want to say a big thank you for joining me on my internet journey. I don't want to get too mushy, so I'm gonna let Joe take over now for all the planning goodness. Creating January spreads, I really felt like they were an extension of the 2022 spreads I created in the last video, so again, you're going to see a heavy emphasis put on craft paper. Have no fear, I feel like I'll be wanting a switch up in February. I started by pasting in a square on the left page to be the home to my monthly calendar and a big decorative piece on the right page to house my habit trackers. I had used my Cricut to cut these out, so I went a little fancy with the title for January by also having my cutting machine cut out a cursive font, but this would have looked equally as cute with cursive handwriting using a regular pen. January is peak winter in Canada, so I whipped out the craft paper snowflakes to be my page filler for these first 2 pages. Again, snowflakes will be an element you'll see carry through the rest of the spreads I create today. Healthy habit trackers are a staple of my monthly plan with me videos, but they're especially important additions to January. I always feel like after all the holiday indulging, my body starts craving a return to routine, and one of the things that helps me refocus is recommitting myself to hydrating, meditating, and workouts on a consistent basis. For this month's habit trackers though, instead of a simple grid or collection of dots like I usually do, I figured it'd be neat to use a different shape of confetti for each habit that I can fill in on the days I successfully perform the habit. For hydration, I did circle confetti, for meditation, I did triangle confetti, and for movement, I did square confetti. I think it ended up being a fun switch up from what I typically do, so I may have to use this technique for the habit trackers in future months. On the next page, I'm pasting in some craft paper rectangles that had snowflake cutouts. The cutouts are actually what I used for the previous spread, so I'm glad I was able to find a way to make use of every part of the paper I cut with my machine. The start of a new year usually calls for some switch ups to my routines, and food can be a simple way to sprinkle in variety. So these 2 pages are going to provide a spot for me to take note of some new recipes I want to try this year in all categories: breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, and desserts. I'm using my Tombow Monotwin marker to fill in these 2 pages. I love how bold of a black it is. I'll have it linked below in the description box, along with links to all the other items you'll see me use in today's video to make January spreads. In my 2022 setup, I talked about money goals, and a big part of keeping me knowledgeable about my spending habits is budgets and spending trackers. I feel a strong urge after the holiday spending craziness to take a step back and use this month as an opportunity to be more involved with what's happening in my bank account. The left side of the spread is where the budget section will go. I simply created a basic chart with different categories of spending like rent, bills, food, beauty, health, closed books, entertainment, savings, investments, and other. Below that, I added a Dave Ramsey quote that says, "A budget is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went." And I feel like that's just a great description for what a budget is. Although I don't make a budget every month, I do feel like they have their time and place, especially if you're feeling like you're going through a period where you're a little unsettled with your relationship with money. On the right page, I have already pasted in some craft paper columns to be the main dividers of the spending log portion of the spread. I'm adding a black line on each side with my Sharpie S-Gel pen so that I have 2 sets of 2-column logs. The larger section is to record details of the purchase, and on the right, smaller columns are meant for recording the amount spent. Pretty simple, but pretty effective, if I do say so myself. Aware of how much I love me a quality vertical layout for my weekly spread, so it only felt right to start a new year and a new month with one. I truly adore how the snowflake cutouts turned out on these spreads. It's such a simple design but very eye-catching, and again, if you want to replicate this look without a cutting machine, you can do that with a white pen or by cutting out snowflakes from white printer paper and simply pasting them onto some colored cardstock. I then brought back my Tombow Mono Twin black marker to divide up each day of the week, cutting Saturday and Sunday in half because those are usually not planning heavy days. Much like how I did with the monthly calendars in my 2022 video, I'm keeping my wrist really loose as I write out these dates to give them a little messy look. The pages felt like it could use a little bit more filler, so I whipped out my white Jelly Roll pen in size 08 and just started sprinkling in some white dots where it felt right to do so. I think this really just ended up pulling everything together quite nicely. Since, as you guys saw, I'm trying to challenge myself to make some new recipes in 2022, I would love to hear what are some of your favorite dishes, and if you have links to any of those recipes, even better, let me know in the comment section down below. I'm curious to know what your taste buds are loving lately. Shortly, I will be having a video going out that goes over my goal setting process for 2022, so stay tuned for that. In honor of my 10 years on the internet, I'm also curious to know, when did you first encounter me? What video was it? What channel was it? What medium was it? Was it on Instagram? Was it on YouTube, Pinterest? I think that'd be really fun to hear about. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in a bit. Just want to squish this journal. Give it a nice big hug. You're perfect. I hope you know that. I wish I talked to myself the way I talk to my journal. Thank you for joining me today. It's been great.